Oh, hey everybody. This would be a good time for an intro. I'm Bill, and this is the start of my victory garden. Hey everybody, good afternoon. So I thought I'd talk about how to build a raised bed garden. Now, obviously I did this years ago, but every once in a while it does need a refresher. So the first thing to start with you need to think about is a southern exposure. If you have a choice, not everybody does, you might have just pots on your porch, you might have a very small piece of grass, you have no choice. But for the garden, if you can, you want southern exposure with full sun, and that the conditions are a little more favorable for things to grow. So when I first started, it's not that tough. I literally took a piece of paper and a pencil, I kind of laid out a rough sketch of the size garden I wanted, and then I just went to your standard lumber store, picked up 2x10s. So look at these boards. These boards are 2x10. It was just Douglas fir. And that way I was able to bury part of the board down below the bricks, which came later. Also, the 2 inches means that the boards will last a bit longer. I typically get about 5 to 8 years out of these boards, and they want to be untreated. You don't want to put any type of coating on them. Just deal with the boards as natural as they are. They'll turn color and fade with time, but you'll still have a good garden box. So one of the things when you're laying this out, you can just put it right on top of the grass. I didn't do anything to the grass. I just literally put the frame down and then I filled it with soil. In terms of the soil, you want to use a blend that's going to be best for the types of plants you're going to grow. In my case, we were going to do general vegetables and fruits, so I made a light blend. When I put the beds down, it was just a matter of filling them with the soil for the garden. So I chose a mix where I got a good topsoil, organic, and I got bags of sand as clean as I could get, good, clean, white sand. I got a lighter organic material, which was a mix of peat moss and humus and vermiculite. Threw it all together, mixed it all up, and that's what resulted in good garden soil. I also wanted to lay down bricks. Now, some people will disagree with this. Some people just leave it as dirt, but the bricks do a couple of things. First of all, they're easy to get around on, meaning you have good footing, you know what you're stepping on. Second, when I pull weeds, I can just grab a weed, pull it out, literally leave it on the brick if I need to. I don't mind the extra soil. And the weeds will dry out. That's helpful to me. And then also, it gives heat to the garden. So in these early days, it's still March. The vegetables that are in here, they're going to want warm weather to germinate. Okay, so we've got beds, we've got soil, we've got a walkway. We also, because this is New Jersey and we have deer, we needed deer fencing. So I wanted everybody to know, and I'll show you this later, but I did 6-foot deer fencing the whole way around the garden. And then at the 2.5-foot level, which means I got 3 feet of chicken wire, putting 4 to 5 inches underground, there's chicken wire. This, pretty much the deer will not jump over. Granted, you could take it higher, but for this small area, the deer will stay outside the garden. The lower part covers rabbits and groundhogs that'll try and get in and burrow around. So you absolutely, if you're going to do this garden, no matter where it is, you need to have fencing to protect it. Otherwise, anything you grow, it's going to be eaten in no time. So when you put the fencing up, some of you might be wondering how it stays. This tool, a staple gun, is your friend, as most tools should be. A good staple gun, you can use it to do both the chicken wire and the deer fencing against the wood surrounding your beds. And you can do it tight and it'll stay. Let me show you how it's done. Now then, while you're doing it, make sure that the wire comes in the middle of the staple. You don't want to miss it. That way the staple goes in and it grabs. You need to staple it all the way down so that nothing can get underneath. As I said, I've got this buried below the ground. Here you can see it in the sunlight. So nothing can really burrow underneath it. So I can't show you how to build a raised bed, because my bed has been here a long time. As I said, I've been doing this for 20 years. But every gardener is going to have to deal with repairs. There's the natural replacement of the boards as they wear out. There's soil amendments. So in this case today, I'm just repairing this one raised bed right now. So the first thing I have to do is I have to dig down to make room for my board. This is the old brick line where the board that rotted out used to rest against going across. So what we're going to do is we're just going to lay a new board from the inside here to the outside of that piece. And my preference is to do it with screws. They tend to hold a little bit better, but you could also do it with nails if you want. Doesn't have to be an exact measurement, just has to be enough that you can eyeball it here. So we got our line. Tools back. Now then, whenever you're using power equipment, safety glasses. Also, if I was going to do a lot of this, I'd probably put in earplugs too, because it's very loud against the ears. But for now, I think it'll be fine just to do one cut. Also, you should have one of these. This is called a miter saw. This saw I've had for over 25 years. I've taken care of it, and it's taken care of me. It's always good to know your tools. So with the miter saw, you just line up your board. You make sure you're on a zero cut. See the zero? You can do different degrees, 45-degree cut, whatever you want. In this case, 0. That'll give me a straight cut. And then I'm just going to drop the board on the mark. Do a quick eyeball on the line here. That's good. All right, then we're ready to cut. Make sure you're straight. Do your first cut slow and steady. Here goes. It's going to be loud. Now then, you got to flip it over. Do the second cut. Again, line it up. Please note that I'm eyeballing it. Here's the second cut. So I always keep the extra lumber. I never throw it away. I'll be able to use that for something. And here's our piece that we're going to use to repair what's there. So what we're going to do, we're going to test the board to see if it fits. And then I'm going to get the drill out and we're going to pre-drill the holes. Putting my drill bit in. Tightening, testing. All right. When you're pre-drilling the holes, you don't go all the way through. I'm going through the first board, but the second board, the screw is going to grab in that, so you don't go all the way through. Outside with the screws, you need to use galvanized screws, or in this case, prime guard. It's an exterior screw, that way it's not going to rust out. Here's what the screws look like. Put them in your pre-drilled holes. Now that my new board's in, I'm just going to fill in some of the soil, let it set against it. So in closing, here's a summary. How to build your raised bed. Map out the size garden you want and the size beds. I like 4 feet by 8 feet, but you may have a different requirement. Get your materials, meaning I use 2x10 lumber, I use 3-inch screws, galvanized, and you're going to need a saw to cut it with, or you can have somebody cut it for you. Next, pick your location, southern exposure. After that, make your forms, cut your boxes, drop them right down on top of the grass, then fill it in with your soil mix. Again, that's a mix of soil, sand, vermiculite, a light peat moss type material. Perfect. You can't build a raised bed without fencing, at least where we have deer, rabbits, and groundhogs. So the 6-foot deer fencing, the 3-foot chicken wire, and then you got to take a staple gun, go all the way around the bottom. You are building a fortress against the critters. A fortress. Finally, put your walkway in. Some people, like me, will do the brick. Others may just leave it as dirt. I find if you leave it as dirt, you're going to get weeds. So the bricks are a way not to have too many weeds that you need to deal with on your pathway. And again, also, you get the side benefit. It keeps the garden warm by absorbing the sunlight during these cold days. So you get off to a jump in growing your vegetables. That way, your victory garden will be safe. This is Bill. This is my victory garden. See you soon for another installment.